What's up everybody, Matt Moran here for another car review. This is of course the 2017 Mercedes-AMG GLC 43. Huge thanks to Mercedes for providing us with this very nice GLC 43 to review for you guys today.
Also, huge thanks to the Automotive Video Association for arranging this car and 11 other awesome cars and SUVs for the first ever Automotive Video Awards, which brings 6 of the best car reviewers in video and myself together to decide which is the best performance car and performance SUV of the year.
So about the GLC 43, well this one is the Coupe, which I'll get to the back part of this vehicle in a minute. But first off, the front is very beautiful. I love these LED headlights, which are optional, but all the headlights here on the GLCs look really nice. And but these ones in particular, really intricate with the detailing there in them and just look so cool. I love the grille too with, you know, all those little mini chrome pieces. It looks like a giant star constellation or something there in the grille. It looks so cool and really beautiful. And then you have, this one also has the blacked out night package here, which has you know, the air dams there have those little black pieces instead of chrome, and you also have chrome for all your trim and mirrors and all that kind of stuff, and looks very good and a little stealthier in that trim as well. And then going towards the back, this is, like I said, the Coupe version, and so you have much less rear cargo space there, which I'll explain more in a few minutes. But you know, it's just a love it or hate it kind of thing. I personally think it defeats the whole idea of having an SUV with that Coupe body style, but I understand, you know, a lot of people like the Coupe looks, and you know, it does look different for sure than all the other SUVs out there. And so otherwise, though, it looks good in the back there. I do appreciate they actually have real exhaust tips in the rear bumper, unlike the Audi SQ5, which has some dummy units. This actually, those go to the exhaust, which is good to have here. And overall, it's a great looking vehicle.
As for the interior of the GLC 43 AMG, well, it is a very nice place to be in typical Mercedes fashion. But anyway, first things first, sitting down in these seats, very nice. These are the optional high-end Designo seats that are just so very beautiful with the quilting you have here, and you know, the cream with black combo just really looks great. And they're very comfortable seats to sit in as well, with, I mean, a decent amount of bolstering. You can't adjust the bolstering here in the 43 AMG, and it's a little bit on the wider side. I believe there are AMG sportier seats you can option in. I think these are the standard ones, and they feel about the same as you would expect from like a standard GLC. I don't think they seem much more aggressive here for the AMG version, at least the 43s. But they're still very comfortable seats, but we'll have to wait till we get out on some corners and see how they actually hold me in the corners here. But overall, the bolstering is still pretty good, you know, and pretty average with most of the other SUVs in the segment. Next to the steering wheel in the GLC 43, which is a really great wheel, very similar to all the other AMG model steering wheels, and it's just got a really nice 9-3 grip, nice 10-2 notches, a flat bottom. It's a great thickness too. It actually gets a little thinner right by the 9-3 grip, so you can get a nice tight 9-3 grip, and it doesn't feel overly thick like some other vehicles steering wheels out there. And then behind the wheel here, you have these nice thick metal paddles that just are perfectly placed, and they're a little bit on the smaller side, but they feel great to use. And then you have a few buttons here on the front to you know, change stuff in the gauge cluster, and you know, radio controls and Bluetooth and all that. But it's fairly uncluttered and just a really nice, simple, clean looking wheel. Next to the gauges in the GLC 43, which are great. Again, very similar to what you see in the other AMG and Mercedes products. You know, the AMG ones have a little bit more of a more sporty font here with a little checkered, you know, pattern behind it, and they look really nice there for the analog gauges. And of course, you have the standard Mercedes digital portion like you get in all the models these days, and it's a really great, you know, little center screen there that's, you know, full color, of course, and has all kinds of different, you know, things you can display on there, your typical trip information, radio stuff, and there's also a dedicated AMG menu, which gives you all kinds of additional vehicle information, such as G meters, boost gauge, lap timers, all that kind of stuff as well. And so really great to have all that kind of functionality here in the AMG version. Coming over to the center of the dashboard, again, it's typical current gen Mercedes stuff, which is so nice. They do some of the nicest interiors these days. We're starting right up top here. You have this very nice large widescreen display, and you know, it's controlled with this command control rotary dial, and then you have a little handwriting thing that you can use as well, and it works okay. I still wish it was touchscreen. I believe they are going to touchscreen here fairly soon. And this is a 2017 model, so it doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. That is something you can get for 2018 though, so that's great. You know, for those that are going to order new GLC 43s, you can get CarPlay and Android Auto, which is a really nice thing to have here. But anyway, this infotainment system works pretty well. You know, if you're familiar with any other Mercedes, it's identical. Pretty good nav and all that kind of stuff. But again, with the controllers not having a touch touchscreen. It's a little, you know, challenging, of course, to input all your stuff into there, you know, if you want to put an address in, things like that. But the handwriting part is nice to have to kind of speed that up a little bit. And then you have the radio controls and all the other standard stuff here you expect, and it all works fairly well. Again, a little bit of a learning curve here with all these German vehicles with their controllers and menu setups. It's not quite as simple as some of the other, you know, touchscreen ones that some of the other companies have, but overall it does work pretty good. Coming down to the rest of the controls here, it's just so nice. You have the climate controls here with these nice little metal buttons that have a great texture to them, and just a few buttons. They're very simple, and then you have a few shortcuts here for the basic menu items there and a CD drive, and that's it. You have this very nice black ash wood trim though that just feels great. You can feel the grain in the wood. Then you have the aluminum on the sides here, the Burmeister speakers, which are beautiful to look at, and I mean all the little details. I mean everything is just really nice looking, nice feeling. There's not a single thing that is like really cheap feeling in this interior at all. It's all so high quality and just feels great. But I mentioned this command controller, and around that you do have a couple other very important functions here. You have on the left-hand side your mode select switch. You know, you can go into Sport and Sport Plus or Comfort and Eco. You have the button here to control the gear shifter manually with the paddle shifters for the transmission. You have your adaptive suspension settings there, traction control off. You have on the right side your volume power button there to turn the screen on and off, your auto stop start, turning that off, and then a button to raise the suspension up here. And so nice to have those nicely condensed here around this controller. As far as storage space here in the GLC 43, it's actually pretty good. So anyway, first thing in the doors here, you have like multiple bottle holders. This is this huge pocket. You can fit all kinds of stuff in there, and yeah, really impressive there. And then coming over to the middle here, you have this, you lift up this cover, and then you have two cup holders in there, and then also a cigarette lighter and ashtray, power outlet kind of deal here. And so good to have that in there. Wish there was a little more space. Maybe if you got rid of the ashtray, maybe have a little more there. But still a good amount of space nonetheless. And then you have the center armrest, which is very nice and softly padded in this great feeling leather. And anyway, you open that up, it splits in the middle there, and you have a very deep cubby that's nice and wide too. You have two USB jacks in there as well, and then you also have an SD card slot for the maps. But overall, it's a really nice large space. Backseat space in the GLC 43 Coupe is pretty good. So I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself, I still have probably about 5 inches of legroom easily. So a very spacious, you know, SUV there in the back. Headroom is a little compromised here, this being the coupe version. Again, if you got the normal GLC, then you would have more headroom, but the headroom is still not super tight. Again, being 5'9", I still have about 2 inches of clearance there. And so, you know, someone that's 6 feet tall could easily, I think, fit back there very comfortably. And so overall, it's a very comfortable back seat. You know, you have little air vents there for the rear occupants. You also have a fold down center armrest with cup holders built into it, and another additional cubby back there for them. And overall, it's a really great back seat. Now, trunk space in the GLC 43 Coupe. Again, you know, if you choose the Coupe body style, you're basically throwing all your trunk space to the wind. I mean, it's definitely a lot less than the standard GLC, and that's just because of the shape of it. That's a compromise you're making. And so, you know, it's not super deep. You know, it is a very wide and a very long space. It's just not very tall. So stacking things is where your limiting factor is there. But it is still a very large usable space. You know, for items that aren't super tall, you're still have just as much space as you would in a normal GLC. And there also is a cubby beneath that actual floor, and you lift it up and you can have additional space there, and it's actually quite deep there as well. So a good amount of space overall, but like I said, if you want the largest trunk, then you should definitely go for the standard GLC 43. All right, so start up and go for a drive. The GLC 43 just has a standard Mercedes key here, which still is very nice, has the metal on the sides. They've been using these keys for quite a few years now, though. Very good keys, and of course it's keyless entry, push button start here in the GLC 43. So you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off in the 2017 Mercedes-AMG GLC 43. So, first thing you notice, well, of course, this being the SUV, it's a lot higher up off the ground here. So you have a very commanding view of the road. Visibility is great. I mean, the hood drops down nicely so you can see forward very well. View out of the sides is pretty good, although you do have a pretty chunky B-pillar here, but of course, you have blind spot wiring, all that kind of stuff, and the rear window you can see through there very well, so no blind spot there. View out of the back is the only thing, again, with this coupe body style. You have a slender rear window there that would be much bigger if you had the standard GLC, you know, for the standard SUV form. Whereas with this, that's just another compromise you're making with this coupe body style, is that you get a smaller rear window. But again, it's still fairly easy to see out of, you know, as long as you don't need a super wide field of view. And you do have all the cameras, you know, 360 and also backup cameras. So parking it, maneuvering it is still very easy. other things to note here. On this rougher road, you definitely hear things a little bit more. You know, these very large wheels and slightly lower profile tires here. So it's fairly communicative. Even in the comfort mode here, I'm kind of surprised it's not more soft than it is. I think that's one of the things here with the 43 is it has the sport-tuned AMG suspension, and you certainly can feel that, although like I said, it's not unrefined or too rough by any means, but certainly just a little more than your standard GLC for sure. But let's turn down onto this straight road here. I got in Sport Plus mode now, and let's see how it does. Here we go. Ooh! All right. It's up and goes really well. Nice sharp upshifts too here in Sport Plus mode. So the GLC 43 has the 3-liter bi-turbo V6 engine that does 362 horsepower, 384 pound-feet of torque, and this thing will do 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. So it's not a slouch. But I love the sound you get out of that exhaust. It's a fairly muted exhaust. That's another thing for 2018. You can get an active exhaust option at the Performance AMG exhaust, and that'll make it even louder. But this, you still get some pretty good sounds and crackles and pops. A little more volume would certainly be nice though. So again, 2018s definitely have a little bit of an advantage there, and that would be well worth, I think, the $1,200 or so for the exhaust you get. But this thing is doing a really good job though, especially in Sport Plus mode. It really wants to give you those higher RPMs, and it's like full attack mode, which is pretty great. But we'll put it into the manual mode here for shifting, and let's try these shifts. This is a 9-speed 9G-tronic automatic transmission that feels really snappy so far. We'll try it out some more here as we turn down onto a back road. Alright, so it does a pretty good job. At first gear there, it rips so quickly though that I'm trying to pull a paddle and it almost has a little bit of a hesitation there before it really, upshifts for me. But I gotta say though, this thing really feels planted and sharp, especially for an SUV. I mean, I'm going to be going around some tighter corners here in a minute, but so far, I mean, it just really feels nice and poised. And, I mean, again, you're sitting up higher, so it's a little disorienting because you're like, wow, this thing is way sharper than I'm expecting an SUV to be. Really quick turn in that feels great, especially in Sport Plus mode here. You have some really nice weighted steering. It does have a fairly good feel to it, not a ton of feeling, but actually just feels good to use. Also in Sport Plus mode here, razor sharp throttle response, which is really great. It just wants to go. Brakes have a good amount of travel to them before it really gets into the meat of the braking there, but it still does a really good job. But we'll turn down onto some more corners here. Yeah, I wish the upshifts were just a hair quicker, but they are really quick and right up there with all the rest. And I was wondering about the bolstering of these seats since they're more relaxed in their setup, but they actually hold you in pretty well. You slide around a little bit, and again, I think you can get AMG performance seats, and if you were to do those, I think you get a lot more of an aggressive seat. But these are great for daily use because they're so soft and comfortable. But yeah, the more that I'm pushing it around corners, like here's a nice tight one here, you start to feel a little bit of lean. I mean, these things do weigh around 4,150 pounds. But again, this is an SUV, an all-wheel drive luxury SUV. So, I mean, you can't expect it to be a featherweight. It actually is lighter than a lot of the competition out there in this segment. So, I think it's, one of the more athletic feeling ones out of the group. But, you still feel like, there's a little bit more lean, and, and that's even in Sport Plus mode here where the dampers are a little more firm in their setup. But it does handle really, really well still. I mean, on a back road, it's fun and it's exciting, and like I said, the steering is really great, and it feels really fun and very, very sporty for sure. I just love the sound of this engine though. And it's all exhaust. There is nothing being piped through the speakers here. You don't really hear anything up front. No induction noises or anything. This thing is fun on corners, though. I gotta say, by the way, this is running 245 wide tires in the front and 275s in the rear, so a staggered setup, so you get more better traction back there. And it is a rear biased all-wheel drive system too, so it definitely feels very sporty. And whenever you're coming out of corners and applying some gas, it definitely does like to feel like it's got that rearward balance to it. It doesn't feel like it wants to push or understeer really. It's quite sharp with the front end and the nose, and you feel like you got a lot of grip, and it does feel really, like I said, just really poised and put together. All right, so now we're behind some traffic, and I just put it down into sport mode and put it into the automatic mode for the transmission now. And it's a really great thing to just cruise in, though. You know, now, I mean, this road is also a little bit rough, but it's getting a little more comfortable, I think, here, you know, whenever you go down into the lower modes. It still is, again, more communicative than I think some of the others in this segment as far as suspension stuff goes, but I wouldn't call it, you know, rough or harsh or anything, or even unrefined. It's just a little more noise, a little more communicative. One thing I love here about the GLC 43 is the snappy upshifts with this 9G-tronic. It is really just bang, 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 and it really actually gives you a little jolt for every upshift here in Sport Plus mode, which I love. It adds drama. I don't want a buttery smooth shift if I'm in a sporty mood. I want to feel each shift, and this does that, and it's so cool how this is just so sporty feeling and just feels great. And I just love how eager Sport Plus mode is to be like, all right, we're just giving you all the RPMs, go to town, and it's great. This thing is just really set up to be fun. I am really enjoying this. It's a blast for sure. And now, you know, out on the highway, we'll go ahead and put it back into comfort mode here and just relax. And it's really nice. Again, like I said, a little more road noise maybe than some of the others, but it's so great. I mean, I could easily see myself, you know, going on road trips on one of these things. Very soft, especially these comfortable seats. Just feels really great to just cruise in and, you know, eat up the miles with this awesome Burmeister sound system and, you know, all the great interior materials you have here. It's just a great thing to spend time in and feels very luxurious in every way. And so overall, it's a really impressive thing here. I really love that, you know, they're offering these SUVs with a performance trim, and I like how there is the mid-level. I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of the 43 AMGs. They don't consider them real AMGs or something. I mean, I think they are. I think it still has, you know, really impressive performance. It's really fun, but for those who don't need an insane amount of, you know, 500 plus horsepower, this is a lot sportier, a lot more fun than a standard GLC. And I think the AMG badge fits instead of just a sport model or something, because you do have it's a thorough redo. I mean, the whole interior has the AMG treatment here with the gauges, the suspension, the looks. I mean, it's a complete package here. It's not just, you know, one thing or the other. It's the whole thing has been gone through by AMG and really feels great. It's not lopsided, you know, like the Volvo's got tons of power, and, you know, vehicles like, there's other vehicles where you have tons of power but not as much handling. This is very well balanced, and that's one of the great things about the GLC is the power doesn't seem to overwhelm the chassis, the suspension can keep up with everything, and overall it just feels really nice and complete, and a really well done job by Mercedes here on these. So anyway, huge thanks once again to Mercedes for providing us with this vehicle to review for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts on the GLC 43 in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.